Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass and Move. For today's episode in our Tactics and Team Guide series, we've got Lyon, Olympique Lyon here. We're still in France, we're the third team in France now, and we just got another one. If you're looking forward to the next episode, that next team will actually be, should be Marseille actually. We're doing it just in according to the season preview, top 4 teams. So we've done PSG, we've done Monaco. If you've missed out, definitely check those episodes out. We'll sort out the Lyon team, and we've got Marseille now. But for now, as you can tell, haven't done anything at all to the screen, and we'll go through together and see what would be the best way to set this team up. Now, first things first, of course, have a quick look at what the assistant manager thinks our best formation, and it is the 4-3-3. So we can keep that in mind while we make our judgment. But speaking of judgment, let's try and find the best staff member for judging ability. So it looks like it's going to be our head of youth development, Stéphane Rocher, or Roche maybe. He's got a little bit better of judging potential as well, so that's good to bear in mind. Let's just remember his name now as we go through the squad. So first things first, let's see who actually has the ability to be in this squad. So straight away, Mathieu Groglin. But let's see what Stefan thinks. Yep, not ready for Ligue 1 at all. Moving to the reserve. Alright. Pretty sure most of these players should be. He's the only decent. Still good enough, I guess. Lyon should be a top Ligue 1 team according to the preview. So just by looking through their squad, it's kind of a surprise that they have that they're considered to, or predicted rather, to end in that position. Now Lucas isn't ready either. Send him back to reserves. Olivier not ready either. Send him to the reserves. As you can see, our squad is really depleting at this point, and but it just doesn't make sense to keep any players unless we run out of money, of course. That's a different story. But first we just have to see who's actually ready for the first team, because I've realized Football Manager does this quite often. Nabil should be right. Aldo Kalulu. It's actually a fun name to say. Maxwell Cornet. Buena, Lacazette should be fine. And Mathieu. Okay, now we're seriously in worrying squad shape. So we've got 18 players, and as you guys may or may not know by now, what I like to do is have a squad of 22 players. I feel like that's a perfect amount for rotation and for no one getting upset about the squad being too huge. But what we like to do is have first 11 of players with leading ability, because they are a leading team in the league, and then we have another 11 players who are just potential players, who have the age, not the age actually rather, but the potential ability. Basically, they're youngsters with potential, and they should be the perfect backup to a first 11 really. Now just having a look, of course, let's sort out the ability first, see the best 11 players at this club, and see what formation seems to suit the most and what we can use to get the best out of all these players. So got a striker, defensive midfielder, centre mid, right winger, attacking midfielder, centre mid. Alright, so it makes sense that we should play with a 4-3-3. Guessing Fekir should be on one side, and we can maybe move Valbuena to the other side. So we can play the 4-3-3, I think, and we'll come up with a direct style of play as well as possession-based. But possession-based 4-3-3 works fine. So just by guessing, the four players that you need to bring in, one would be a goalkeeper, a left back, a centre back, and possibly a striker. I think that's your 4. You've got wingers here, so I think you're okay. In fact, you might want to consider who to play. Also, you could have a look at Maxwell and see if you want to play him as a striker or not. Anyways, we'll get into those details in just a second. The 4-3-3s. This formation will be possession based, and let's see what can we do for a direct style of play that would best suit all these players. If I'm honest, it doesn't seem like they are a team for direct play. Okay, so if you move Fekir to the striker position, he could probably get away with a 4-4-2. So we're going to do the 4-4-2 that we've done a couple of times before. So 4-3-3 and the 4-4-2. So for control possession-based sides, of course control is the best for possession-based and you know, not direct style of play kind of thing. And like I always mention, I like to keep the instructions simple. So just 4, which is lower tempo, shorter passing, be more expressive, and roam from positions. But if you're the type of guy or manager who likes to have a lot of instructions, then definitely without doubt, if you want to play possession based, you can get rid of being more expressive. You can work the ball into the box, play out of defense, retain possession, and let's see, you can get stuck in if you want, just to try and win the ball back a bit more. You can close down more, definitely play a higher line and offside trap, and width you can even play narrow to try and keep the players closer together, and that way you don't lose possession so easily. So of course some of these you don't necessarily need to have. I think if I point out the need to haves, it should be lower, shorter, retain, higher, offside, more work ball to the box, and maybe play out defense as well. Those would definitely needs for keeping possession. Things like roam from positions help a bit, get stuck in, and narrow aren't necessities. But again, I don't even like playing with all of these instructions, so I just keep it simple, and for just argument's sake we'll keep that as is. In terms of the direct style of play, so 4-4-2, definitely play on attacking, and your instructions, again, I like keeping it simple with high, more direct, roam, and be more expressive. But if you're not a fan and you want more details or more instructions to try and dictate as much as possible how your team plays, get rid of roam from positions. You can get rid of being more expressive, not a necessity, but it's good for a team that are trying to express themselves and play at a high tempo. You don't want them to double think their decision making. Passing into space, running at the defense, hitting early crosses, clearing ball to flanks, even maybe closing down less and playing a deeper defensive line can draw the opposition out to you. Staying on your feet can keep good team shape, and if you play wide, that would be good too. Now necessities here are higher tempo, more direct, clear ball to flank, and run at defense. I think those are the ones that you have to have. Things like pass into space, hit early crosses, being more expressive, staying on your feet, closing down less, and deeper defensive life, and even playing wider aren't entire necessities. But again, if we're going for argument's sake, this is how I like to have it. Also, by the way, just so you guys know, it helps the team learn the tactical or get familiar with the tactics quicker a bit when you don't have too many instructions. But yeah, this should be the two formations that you can consider either or of. Of course, if you're playing possession based, you can also consider going on the counter with the same instructions. You can even train them on attacking, but the perfect ones for possession are counter, standard, and control. But of course, sometimes you need to use things like attacking, overload, defensive, whatnot. So it depends on how you use it. The 4-4-2 as well, you can play direct. Playing on attacking and counter suits direct the most. But you can of course do things like control as well if you want to train them. You do have 3 slots, so you can easily do either 3. Things like control can sometimes help you, standard maybe as well if you just like to see how the game's going on. Or you can even train for your third formation, so you can have counter, attack, and then for your third formation you can actually do that when you're trying to win the game, the 4-2-4 instead. But yeah, we're just going to try and work on these 2 formations first. So the 4-3-3, let's see, we've got striker who apparently is a complete forward. I reckon he's best as a poacher, but we do need him to be a complete forward on support for possession based, and he is a lone striker, so we do need him on support as well. Your wingers, it looks like if we do play Fekir, you've got a couple of choices here. Alright, so it looks like either way, your right winger will be an inside forward and your left winger will be an actual winger. So you should have a full back here. Let's let Fekir play on attack, and then he can have a wing back on support behind him. And that's a nice little balance out wide, and your striker. Now the only thing that leaves you with is your centre mid. Your centre backs can apparently play as ball playing defenders, and just by looking at the attributes quickly, it looks like they are kind of comfortable with it. They do have decent vision, decent passing, so you can actually afford to play just one of them, not 2, 2's too many. One of them on the ball playing defender. This leaves us with our midfield. Now if we can have a look at the midfield, your 3 best players are these 3 right here apparently. So Maxime Gonalons, We don't want him as a ball-playing defender because we do want him to sit. So deep line playmaker is okay, defensive midfielder is okay, and halfback or anchorman. So he can play a couple of these roles. Halfback, anchorman, and defensive mid is the ones that we want to keep an eye out for. And I reckon we want to take advantage of his passing. So anchorman's okay. And defensive midfielder. I think defensive midfielder is actually best bet. He'd look better as a defensive midfielder than anything else. So that leaves us with the other two, box-box midfielder and the deep line playmaker. Now this is where things move around a little bit. So we might want to try him out as a ball-winning midfielder. Is perfect. We'll actually play him here. Ball-winning midfielder on support, supports the winger. And then you have an advanced playmaker on attack here, who supports the inside forward. That's perfect. Now that's pretty much how your team should look for possession based. Sergi Dardar is going to be the one who's playing on advanced playmaker on attack, a role he can definitely do. And you can also drop in Vela Bueno if you wanted into centre mid, retrain him as an advanced playmaker on attack. He is 31 years of age anyway, so he could do with, you know, being moved back into centre midfield, as you can see here. So that's pretty much your 4-3-3. That suits the 4-3-3 with the possession-based tactics basically. For the 4-4-2, you'll definitely be forced into playing wingers here. You don't want to play wide midfielders, your team doesn't suit it, defensive wingers don't suit, and wide playmakers not too much, especially because we're playing direct. So you'll have a winger, for argument's sake, let's still keep it as a winger on attack here and a winger on support here. That would mean a fullback on attack here and a fullback on support here. Now you could probably still get away with a ball-playing defender in this direct style of play, because as you can see, it says that they can launch defense splitting through balls from deep to generate counter-attacking opportunities. So it can be helpful in both possession and direct style of play. I think they suit possession based a little bit more, oddly enough, despite that description. But I think you can get away with it. Now here we do have the perfect players for this. We've got the deep line playmaker on defend. You want to play him on the left to cover your fullback that goes up on the attacks. And you do have a player capable of playing as a box-to-box midfielder as well. Now the real question is your striker. So we said we'll push up Fekir alongside Lacazette, and that means we'll have to see what Fekir is comfortable with. Apparently it's a false 9. That would be nice in the possession-based side, so you can actually consider him as a backup to Valbuena if you wanted. But we're sticking to attack, so he can play as a poacher, and I think he would do a decent job as a complete forward as well. Yeah, he's not too bad. I mean, his heading's awful, but that's okay. So you've got a choice basically. You can play the poacher on the right, and you can play complete forward and support on the left. Now this is how your team should look like, and I would recommend Lacazette on the left and Fekir on the right as a poacher. He suits the poacher a little bit more. But of course, if one of them isn't performing in those roles during the game, then you do have the flexibility, which is really good actually and can be useful, to move them around. Basically, just switch them, and sometimes their rating will just increase rapidly throughout the game. So that kind of flexibility is good. But of course, eventually you want to get this actual specialist of complete forwards and poachers. So you might want to invest in the poacher department. But again, depends on your formation, of course. If you're just playing the 4-3-3, then you need the backup as a complete forward for Lacazette. Which gets me to the squad here. We're going to have a look at the reserves first and the under-19, see if there's anyone ready for Ligue 1, just in case you missed out on them. I think he is ready, but he might be injured for ages, yeah, 6 to 8 months. So you might want to keep an eye on him. He's a decent player apparently, so he could play for you, but 6 to 8 months is way too long. Olivier, I think, already went through, so I don't think any of these players are actually ready just yet. National football ability, which isn't enough for Ligue 1, of course. Can have a quick look at the potential actually. You do have some good stars coming up actually. These four in particular: Aurore, Kakaret, Kalulu, as we mentioned, and Christopher Pereira. Some of these can slot right into your side. Kalulu is a right winger, apparently a striker as well. So, you know, a couple options there. The advanced playmaker would be perfect if you retrain him as an advanced playmaker. I think you can get away with a false 9 as well. Does have the finishing for it without doubt. Anchorman, perfect as well. So, you know, they will slot straight into your side if you give them a season or two time to develop. But let's get back to the squad and see who we should keep and who we should sell. So of course, goalkeeper already mentioned that he is your leading player, so just don't bring in an amazing goalkeeper. You don't need that. You just need someone with potential. So don't invest too heavily there. We do have just 3 million. No wonder half their squad were full of youngsters. We'll see what you can do, who you can sell, who you can keep and whatnot, but it looks likely you're going to have to dip into your reserves and under 19s. But if you rely on your first 11, you might just get by this season. As you can see a bunch of depth issues, overall depth. It'll take a couple seasons time, I'm guessing, to get this team together, but just for argument's sake, Raphael and Jalet should be your first choice right backs. That's actually a lot of competition at right back. They're both leading, which is great, so I think Jalet will probably decline because he's 32 eventually, and Raphael will come into that side, which isn't bad. Morel, though, the only left back, apparently he can play centre back as well, but depends where you see him. You might want to move him to centre back actually instead, because he looks a little bit better there. Actually, he doesn't. Never mind. I thought he had heading and jumping reach, but he doesn't. So leave him in full back positions. You don't want to put him there. Invest in the centre back. Invest in the left back without a doubt. Bring in a star one because he's only decent. Bring in a proper first team player and keep Morel as your backup. But if you do have the time and money, sell him and bring in someone with potential. And Kulu, we should. This is a bit of a tough one. Alright, apparently he's not leading. He is good enough though. And it looks like you're just going to have to gradually move your ability upwards. I don't think it makes sense just yet to sell, because basically, judging how we would normally judge, Nkulu and Yanga and Buya would both be sold just because they're only good ability. But it looks like good ability is a decent thing for this squad just now. But eventually you will want to upgrade on these two and bring in, proper first league, leading players basically. And you already have Mamana for a youngster in potential. He's got amazing potential, superb rating. He's going to be a star without a doubt. And so you might want to see your fourth centre back should be another person with potential, and Bigwa and Nkulu should be your first choice players, even though they're not quite up to standard just yet. But for this season, especially because you don't have any money and you don't have enough players at all, it just doesn't make sense too much to sell. Gonalons, I think, already leading. Rebus and Gazelle. So Rebus might be your first choice. You have 3 left wingers, so something to keep an eye on. See if any of them can play in right wing position. Apparently he's a fullback, but he doesn't have the positioning and marking I like for a fullback, so I wouldn't recommend keeping him there. And Rashid Gazelle will actually be the perfect backup to Nabil Fekir because he is an inside forward. So actually, there you go. That's your wingers here. Got right winger here, right winger here, left winger here, left winger here. That'd be perfect. But yeah, it looks like you would need investment in the left wing spot. Maybe you can possibly sell one and bring in an actual leading player and keep Maxwell Corner as the backup, who's got potential. In your centre mid positions, Grenier, maybe you can buy someone better than him. You can let Darder actually fulfill his potential as well. He's already leading, so that's okay, but let him fulfill his potential as well. He's still 22 years of age. You can give him a season's time, see if he actually does become, because he's close to his potential, so you can actually give him a season's time, see if he does become a leading player. But if not, you can always invest again next season as well. It looks like, you will need maybe, if you're playing the 4-3-3, you won't need another centre mid because you have Valbuena can drop in. Even with a 4-4-2, I think Valbuena is the only advanced playmaker, or attacking midfielder rather, and you're not playing an advanced attacking midfielder at all in either formation, so you will definitely have to retrain him, and it's up to you whether you see him as a winger or a centre mid. But I think he's more of a centre mid because if you play him as an inside forward, his finishing is horrible, so it doesn't make sense. And it's just as a traditional winger, he can actually do the job as a traditional winger. But your right winger is actually going to be an inside forward, so again, it doesn't make sense. And that leaves us with the striker. So of course, like, is that your first choice? Getting a backup, as we mentioned, and you should have a decent squad. It's just going to take a while, I think. Rely on your first team without doubt. Try and give them, go on training, rest as many days as possible whenever you can in between games, and just keep them as fresh as possible. Because just yet you can't rely on your backup. You've got 18 players. You need 4 more just to meet the numbers, let alone improve. So hit the numbers first somehow, get some loans. I think you're gonna have to rely on some loanees, and then, you know, just try and save up some money, do well in the league. That way you get more money. You should have a decent transfer budget in a couple of seasons time as well. Even next season, 15 million, I think you can do a decent amount of that. But again, you know, if you send some of these players out on loan, you won't need to rely on anyone being brought in the transfers. But yeah, I think that will be all for today's episode. So as I mentioned, the next episode will be Marseille, and then we should move on to Italy and you know, see who we can take on in the Serie A. So as always, if you did enjoy it, then please do hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2017 content. And once again, thank you guys for watching.